Shall we get into the juicy questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I guess the researcher in me,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear like how you define people pleasing and perfectionism, like if you're going to explain it to somebody, and then like how that's shown up for you. And I also want to say like for some of the people I've talked to, perfectionism is like not really figure into the picture. So we can also like touch on that if those both kind of resonate with you or if you're more resonating with the people pleasing.
Yeah. I resonate, I'll like answer in backwards a little, but like I resonate with both. I think people pleasing is more of a bigger, like it's a Goliath of a, monster that I have to kind of um keep in check sometimes. But the perfectionism I think shows up more career, um, in career path and like anything career and professional related, like in building a business, like the logistics and stuff, like perfectionism shows up in that area. Sometimes it was showing up a lot in content creation when building a business and trying to get the word out and obsessing over words and bios and all that stuff and fonts and shit like that. But the people pleasing, I think, shows up across the board in every aspect of my life. But I feel like maybe it's the Sagittarius in me. I'm a very like free-spirited person, but like the perfectionism it doesn't happen in any area of my life except when it comes to like money, career, like anything tied to money, anything tied to status and stuff is where the perfectionism would creep in. Um, and to answer your question, which is oh my God, it's such a hard question to answer. How do I define people pleasing? Okay, so it's a hard question. It's really hard. How do I define it? I I define people pleasing as I'll tell you how I define it now because it's not the same answer I would have given you like a year ago. I define it as a very neutral thing now. I think people pleasing to please people is a good thing. To please people is you're like you enjoy being liked and you want to be liked and want to be appetizing to people and want to be palatable to people. Clearly, I'm hungry. But yeah, it's just always to me it's a neutral word, but it is like the face of my inner saboteur as well. I remember I took like a one of those psychology kind of find out your inner guide archetype type of thing. And I got, I think, a 10 out of 10 on people pleasing. Uh, and it was, yeah, so people pleasing to me is just like shape shifting your identity and your sense of self so that you are more palatable to another being. And sometimes how that has kind of shifted into the negative spectrum is when I'm shrinking myself or I'm shape shifting myself to the point of burning myself out and having to wear this mask to make sure that every single person is happy in the room. But usually that means I'm the unhappy one. That's what, I don't know if that answers the question, but
Totally.
yeah.
I love that so much, and I love how you first brought up that it's neutral and that you mentioned like the positives of it because I think it's so easy to like fixate on this label as like something negative, but you're so right. Like it's a beautiful thing to be able to accommodate others and like make them feel welcome and help them feel comfortable. But there's like a line, right? Of
Yeah.
when that crosses, then it can become something
Yeah.
very draining.
An example that's coming up is like I'll just name George. I was like trying to be anonymous about it. But like I met George for the first time during like our first onboarding coaching session. And we met in person in New York and we went to this restaurant and like the smoothie place or whatever. And I like was insistent on like when, as soon as I met him, I was like, hey, like, what would you like on me, my treat? Like, I'm so, so grateful you took the time. And then, I was like, got his order. I was like, you sit down. I'm gonna go to the register, order the food. Let me know if you need anything, da da da, and then get the food. Just like sit down at the table and he was like very like Jedi Master-esque, being like kind of like, oh, I see where I think I don't want to like say this as a negative thing because I think he was just like getting a sense of who I was in person. But he said something along the lines at some point in the conversation, like, oh, I'm seeing like where the people pleasing is coming in. And I was so fucking offended by that because I felt like judged in the moment. And I know that sometimes like people, we're just gauging, like we're just taking information in when we first meet someone and we're trying to like put like all the data together and make sense of like who are you? And I got so salty about that because to me, like that was not people, like that was people pleasing, but in the best way possible. Like just wanting him to feel comfortable, wanting to take care of him or order food and like make sure that he was well cared for was like to me not a bad thing. Like the way when he said people pleasing, I understood that he was kind of clocking me for it, where he was like, you don't have to pay for this. You don't have to order me food. Like I can do that. And it was just this moment where I was just like, wow, like I'm getting clocked for this, but I actually think this is just like an amazing thing. Like the part of my personality that I like, where I want to take care of people and I want to nurture them. And that was a moment where I felt like I had to like unpack. Like I got triggered by him saying that, but I was like, I'm pleasing you because I care for you and I love you. And like that's a beautiful thing. This is not one of those moments where I'm doing it in a toxic kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a
Like,
mirror. What a mirror.
yeah, no, that came up. I don't think he realizes how much that bothered me, but it was also really beautiful because I realized I was like, oh wow, like I still care. That's people pleasing me. We're worrying that oh, does he like me less because he thinks I'm desperate or I'm trying to people please him? And I'm like, actually, no, I had to like reckon with that and realize in this moment, like I'm just being myself. And if someone clocks it as as a saboteur coming up or something, that's fine. Um, but I also just am realizing like I'm giving value to what he said. Maybe he said it just as like a neutral comment, and I'm the one getting worked up, and that's my reality.
Yeah, there's two things coming up for me as you're sharing about this, if you're open to me
Mm,
saying them.
yeah,
I
please.
think the first thing that comes up is like, I feel like whenever something like that happens and we get like triggered by it, it's like there is a small part of us that maybe thinks that's true. So it's like there's a small part of me that's like a big part of me that's like, this is such a great quality. And then a small part that's like, maybe it's not. And they just saw that it might not be. And I'm going to be mad at them because they saw something that I don't want to see. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like it's reflecting that small part. But the other thing that's coming up for me is that, like, the more and more I work with this stuff, I can see how anything someone says to me is like always reflecting their reality. And so, like, so I'll give the specifics. Like, when it's come to this focus outreach, like, mostly people have responded really well, but there's been a couple people that are like, why are you doing this? Like, you're wasting your energy. That sounds really draining. You should have better boundaries, like that type of thing. And like, I can see where they're coming from if they're like in that space of needing to protect their energy and stuff. But at the end of the day, like, we're our own authority on where we're coming from as far as like my cup is full and I have extra to give, or my cup isn't full and I'm doing this from like a desperate place.
Hmm.
Like I'm the only one that can know that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so like if I've had this come up where I've been like, oh my God, like maybe I am doing this wrong and maybe like it isn't the right thing I should be doing and maybe their way is better. Like if I start thinking those things, it's because there's like a little part of me that believes that. But as I pull my energy back and like I sit in my own wise knowing and like I'm the ultimate authority on me and I don't let other people be the
Hmm.
ultimate authority on me, I can see that like maybe they're struggling with boundaries. Maybe they're feeling like super drained. And like that's what would prompt making a comment like that to me. Like I don't have to take that on board because like I know inside of me, like I'm doing this from a place of love and like I have energy to give. And it's like you were saying, like you like while some people might see that as people pleasing, like you were truly doing that from a place of love. It wasn't out of like a I'm gonna try to make him like me. So I'm gonna like buy his smoothie and like get him his food. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
there's it looks the same on the outside, but where it's coming from on the inside, like only you can know.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's so many. Ooh, it's juice. It's getting juice. There's things coming up where, I really deeply love the Eleanor Roosevelt quote where she says, like, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And it's just any time a friend comes to me and is like, "Oh, this person that I've never met or whatever, this person in passing said this thing to me and it pissed me off." I'm like, "Oh, that's where you're being revealed where you're not free." And that happens to me time and time again. And anytime someone pisses me off, I literally think I'm like, "Oh, I'm not free yet. I'm like there's still work to be done here. There's still some like kinks that I need to iron out with this thing. Like I thought I was healed. And I think we've talked about this in community calls as well. It's just like you think you're fully healed and then you're put in a situation where you're like, oh, there's something there still. There's some residual stuff that needs tending to. And I love that you brought up that maybe there is a part of me that like, or a little voice that's saying, there was like people like there was a people pleasing moment happening in that, and I actually am just realizing as I talked to you that I was people pleasing, but not in a negative way to George. But what's coming up is that when I meet people, especially new people, I had this weird rule in my head that like I have to get the bill, I have to pay the check. And um it comes from this like I love that I got that from my parents of just like always like go to someone's when anytime you meet someone, always like make sure you have something like an offering, even like a box of mangoes or whatever. Just never go empty-handed to meet someone, especially a new person. You really want to like it's just like they're an altar. You give them an offering for just like their time and their energy. And that's like manifested into like paying for things a lot and feeling like sometimes of the dopamine hit that I get when I grab the check and I'm like, hey, I got this. Like, I just want to treat you. Like the dopamine sometimes is like selfish. Like it feels good to like be that person. And I always found like I always would watch movies growing up and seeing people grab the check and be like, and it was always a man, right? It was always a man who grabbed the check. And I was like, I can't fucking wait to be that woman who just always grabs the check in a group setting and is like, I got this, guys. And so it comes from a place of innocence and like inner child, maybe like people please, like just this feeling like a boss and feeling like this really cool feeling that I've always wanted to feel. But I've noticed sometimes it does become exhausting where I just can't relax, where I'll be at dinner sometimes and I'll be like, I don't have money to pay for this, but now I'm feeling this completely put on myself undue self-inflicted pressure like,
Mm.
oh God, the check is coming. Oh yeah, okay, so I really want to pay for this, but like it's probably not financially a smart decision. But feeling like I so badly want the people to feel good. And I just that there's an addiction there sometimes that I'm like unlearning still. I'm still, especially after a career layoff, you're like extra like, um, when I'm at a coffee shop, I've noticed myself struggling when I'm with someone to just let them pay for their things. I notice that that comes up every time I'm with a friend. I just want to offer it, but now I'm like really just trying to like sit back a little and being like, we're all adults.
Yeah.
And two people can enter an establishment and not have a shared check and stuff. And that's really hard for me, honestly.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much. And I what comes up for me when you're saying all that, what I'm hearing you saying is just that this isn't like a clear cut, it's not a clear cut thing. Like with
Mhm.
this, like the same situation one day to the next, like could be people pleasing in a positive way, could be people pleasing in a negative way, just depending on like where you're coming from and what's true for you, you know?
And I have to find the intention behind it. Like, what is
Yes.
the intention? With George, I genuinely felt like I was just like, oh, you're my bud, and I just like really like you, and I want you to like, who doesn't want to be liked, and
Yeah.
make a good impression. And it felt good for that moment. But there have been a lot of instances where your body will tell you when it's people pleasing, leaning into more toxic people pleasing. Your body will signal to you when it feels icky and it starts to feel like you start like feeling like you're kind of like just feeling like things are just getting tighter and tighter in the body. That's when it's like you're like, oh, well, no, that doesn't feel good. When you're giving generously from your heart, it's like very expansive, heart open, and there's no contraction happening in that way.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, like, not to like harp on money or restaurants and things, but like the tipping situation right now in the world is like out of control. Like you just go to a coffee shop and it's like automatically 25, they turn that little iPad around and it's like starts at 25%. And I'm like, what is going on with the world? Like
Yeah.
I didn't even order like a drink that could be made. It's like, here's just a bottle that I'm purchasing. And I've noticed myself feeling like in the past, I've always over tipped because I've worked in restaurants. And I think that people pleasing tendency has come from empathy of like, I fucking know how hard it is to like work in the food service industry. And I want to be that person that over tips. But some like lately I've just been checking myself and being like, $1 a drink is sound. I don't have to, there's no need to like over tip. Just I'm just noticing I'm like, am I tipping them because I want them to like me, or am I tipping them because it's just like appropriate? Because now I just think tipping culture has gotten a little wacko right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I love all those examples because like it's so practical and these are like just like everyday experiences that we come across that it's like how in the world am I supposed to navigate this? Like what is the right choice right now? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was thinking about this before we got on the call and I'm curious to like see how it lands with you. But what I've noticed with the people pleasing because well, I'm gonna separate because I see people pleasing as like it's like a survival mechanism.
Hmm.
Like you do this, not you, but people, people please, because they're trying to feel safe, right? Like it's creating this sense of safety. And there's a difference between like giving in a way, like kind of like bowing down and self-sacrificing to be safe versus giving in a way, like you said, from the heart that's like just expansive and there's no attachment to it. And what I've noticed under like the people pleasing is if I'm getting really honest with myself, it's always some sort of an attempt to like manage or control somebody else's experience. Like, I want them to like me. I want them to be happy. I want them to feel a certain way. I don't want them to feel a certain way. I don't want them to be bothered. So, all these things, I'm trying to like get in there and like mess with their little brains and like
Hmm.
manage that situation. And when I get even more honest and think deeper, when I do that, I'm actually like seeing people from a very disempowered space. Like they need me to care so much that I like manage their own experience for them.
Mm,
And
wow.
that view is actually like a reflection of my own disempowerment. Like I don't trust myself with my own emotions and like to manage these situations. And so I see in this other, like they probably can't do that either. So I need to like control this
Hmm.
situation instead of like you were saying about like it's just two adults here. Like it's completely normal for like they're just as empowered as I am. They can say no if they want to say no. Like I don't need to spare them the discomfort of telling me no and never ask because I just want to spare them. Like give them a choice. You know what I mean? Like say the thing, be the real you, give them the option to like be the real them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Does that land with you as far as like the empowered, disempowered thing?
I will be very honest, Rebecca, like I've never thought of that ever in my life. And it's really starting to open up portals and things that I wasn't, I guess, like blind spots I wasn't even aware of. Because I think you nailed it when you said like why is people pleasing a thing? And it is 1,000%. I think for the most part, I think 99.9% of people will say it is due to safety and like needing to like match a certain energy so that you're not unsafe in situations. And then it snowballs into these just silly everyday situations because it's so sometimes it just gets so massive and so like ingrained in us. But yeah, I've never thought of that about like thinking of people pleasing as disempowering the person and ourselves. Like that's really something I'm like excited to chew on and just like to actually practice and have more awareness when those situations come up. I was even thinking about this example this morning that came up. I was really trying hard to not like think about like, oh, think of like things like have things in the back pocket for this conversation. I was like, I really want to just like be present and let things happen naturally. But there was one story that I just like I didn't know if this is relatable to you or anyone, but it was just as soon as I think of people pleasing, I just think of one situation that happens to me that I still to this day struggle with, and I just wanted to share it with you. Um, so anytime I've ever gotten a massage, which is never a lot, like I haven't gotten a lot of massages in my life. Maybe I can count them on my hands in 35 years, but I realized how bad my people pleasing was when I would go and get a massage and like the massage therapist would be like, you know, you're not really speaking for most of it. Your head's face down. You're usually butt naked and you're in a very vulnerable position. And they're always so sweet and they're always like, please tell me if it's painful or if it's you want more pressure or if you don't like something, da 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 da. And they always say it. They always like give you the permission to say it to them, like to stop at any point or whatever. And I realized how bad it was when every single massage I've ever gotten, anytime it's like I'm in pain, I actually feel acute pain happening. I'm suffering through it. I'm like maybe getting allergies starting to come up, or my back will start spazzing out. I will just lay there silently for that 60 minutes and just take it because I have this ridiculous fear that I'm going to hurt their feelings if I say that they're not doing enough pressure or that they're going too hard and my neck is really sore and they're pain like hurting me and or that if I have to stop them and inconvenience them so that I can sit up and stretch my back. But I'll just feel like I've been in massages where for 60 minutes, like I've been in severe pain and suffering and just bit down on the fucking cushion, just like taking it for an hour because I just did not want to inconvenience that person or hurt them in any way or make them give them any feedback in any way. And that has always been my like very, very like clear moment of like, wow, I cannot understand why I feel like I'm like that people pleasing is coming up so severely in that moment. And I'll always come home and tell my partner, oh, and he's like, how's the massage? And I'm like, it was great. He's like, how was the massage really? And I was like, I'm in pain. I need to lay down. And he's just like, why did you not say anything? They're therapists. They're used to it. They like need they can't read your mind. Like, why don't you say anything? And I was like, I just don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be an inconvenience. I don't want to be high maintenance. I like don't and he's like, no one's thinking that. And I don't know why, but that is a huge sore point for me,
That
literally.
is, yeah, that's so real. That's so real. May I ask, what do you think all those things that you don't want to be, like what is the story underneath that if you were those things? Like if you were to say like, hey, that actually is kind of hard, like what are you fearing is going to happen?
I I think it's a fear of being perceived as annoying, honestly. Like I think I mean, I was a like the younger of my, I have an older sister and growing up, she would always be like, you're really annoying or right, like, I don't know, I just always had people like tell me I ask too many questions or I'm like being a little too like curious about things and just to like leave well enough alone. And I think it's also maybe a South Asian culture thing, just like women having to like take it and be in uncomfortable situations and not have to like I don't see myself like that across every like circumstance or every aspect of my life, but I grew up a lot seeing like the um like being in environments where there were men and women in my culture, they like the men would just dominate the space and the energy in the room and the women were very submissive and always like my aunts were always like, oh, like they can't speak back, they can't say anything. It's like, oh, I don't want to hear what you have to say. It's like our voices were never like part of the discourse. And so I think maybe that's like a very subtle way things have like bled into my journey and like a huge part of me undoing a lot of this people pleasing has been finding my voice. And like I started a podcast like 2.5 years ago, and for almost 2 years, it was secret. I literally started it because I was so afraid to use my voice. And I think that's still a part of my journey is just finding my voice. And like I think the antidote to people pleasing is your voice, is like being able to like speak up, say no, and like stay rooted in the no. Cause like what I would do is like say no and then give like a massive thesis on why I can't do that thing because I don't want to hurt that person's feelings. And now it's like just I mean, this is new, like fetus level, like new journey for me is like saying no and not giving a reason why. Just being like, no is enough, and that's all you get. You don't get the full spiel and all the excuses and the reasons why I don't want to do that. Like, done. That is like radical behavior for me. Like, I've never done that in my life. And yeah, so tapping into the voice and then like really using words to empower myself. I think just to tie into like what you said is stop using words to like put myself in situations that I don't want to be in. And realizing that I dislike people and so therefore people will dislike me and that is okay because there are people that rub me the wrong way that I find really fucking annoying that I don't want to be around And if that's the case, then I have to be okay with not being liked all the time and people rubbing people the wrong way and not being everyone's cup of tea. And that's like a new revelation I'm like starting to really root into a little bit more.
Yeah, there's so much here. I'm like, I feel the expansiveness of you even sharing this with me. And what there's something that was coming up huge for me while you were sharing is I see like two layers here of this people pleasing. So there's the layer of like Aisha and just your life, like just your experiences in this lifetime. But there's also like the ancestral, generational thing that lives in your DNA that's also like playing a huge part in this. Because at the end of the day, like um when we talk about survival, like the nervous system, right? Like there's the regulated, there's survival, which is fight, flight, and then there's the shutdown, which freeze is like part survival, part shutdown, and fawn is total shutdown. And I see people pleasing as fawning. That is where I see it on like the spectrum. And it makes complete sense that we, especially as women, right, like have this tendency to go into that survival pattern because for your ancestors, speaking up could mean physical violence and death.
Hmm.
And so, even though that's not your physical reality, like Aisha says, no, she's not dying for that. There's a part of your nervous
Oh,
system that,
I swear I'm dying.
yeah, there's a part of your nervous system that feels it's a threat to your life. And so, like, that totally makes sense. Like, it totally makes sense. And so I think that when these things are challenging, like, we want to shit on ourselves and be like, oh, like, you should have known better. It's not really like that. But like, you're literally standing up to something that's not just from this lifetime. Like, it's like, generationally in you. So, but like that's our job in this life, right? Like we're meeting this and like it's just to practice showing ourselves it's safe. And sometimes that's like just little baby steps. Like maybe the masseuse, it doesn't feel safe yet in your body. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
totally okay because it's not like survival responses are not logical. And I think that's a lot of it's like not rational. That's a lot of like our inner turmoil because we're like, no, like I know better, like I shouldn't be doing this. But it's like this part that's reacting is not, it doesn't listen to like logic and reason. It's
Mm.
just, it's seeing death. And like our part is our contribution is to like grab that part and show it like, hey, we're not going to die. If this person gets mad at us, we're not going to
Yeah.
die. If they think I'm annoying, we're not going to die, you
Hmm.
know? But, and it seems so ridiculous, like to even have to have that conversation or like go through that. But that's like, that's the practice.
Yeah. I mean, 1,000% with you on everything you said. And I also, it's interesting the ancestral stuff. I also realize there is, like like my family's from Bangladesh and uh like a lot of Southeast Asia was colonized by the British and stuff. And there's a lot of people pleasing that I find when I'm in rooms or in spaces with white people or specifically white people of a lot of privilege. Me just feeling like a dancing monkey sometimes, like wanting to like get their like approval. And then I've realized that that's coming from like the colonialism, like that's deeply like baked in my bloodline. And it came up when I was living in New York, in Queens, like, I mean, you barely have any space and like neighbors basically live in your house and the walls are like paper. But I remember I had a conflict happen with a neighbor where they were like really kind of impeding on boundaries that I set. And I felt like they were disrespecting my space and I like confronted them and I was like, I had to Rebecca, I was like, for like hours like preparing my my body for this conversation and like just like scripting things and like and again like it feels ridiculous because it's just a simple like hey man that's not cool, don't do that, but like I had to just work up to it. And I confronted my neighbor and I explained, I was like, this thing happened. I do not want this to happen again. This is my space. Like, please respect it. And saying it out loud to you, it sounds like a pretty normal, like, I'm not being a bitch. Like, I'm just saying like a pretty basic thing. But that almost killed me, just like telling a person to their face, like, hey, you broke a boundary. I'm resetting it. Like, don't do that again, respectfully, and like blah blah blah. And it didn't go well. Like
Mhm.
they really like they started kind of saying things about me and saying like, "Oh, I thought you were really cool" or whatever. And like and then it started to kind of play with this idea of me feeling like, "Oh, wow, I'm being a difficult person." And that like and for a year after that, I would look out the little peephole of my door, make sure they weren't around. I walked on eggshells for a year after that. And I realize how ridiculous it is now. But it's also like these types of periods are necessary sometimes because I felt like if I ran into that person that I would die. Like I would die if because I try to create a boundary around them so that I wasn't people pleasing and it backfired on me and it kind of shot like in that moment I was just like, "Oh wow, well maybe I should just stick to people pleasing." And I realized like that's not serving me. And so now even that's like a thing I'm just taking forward is just like there are people where when you are known as a people pleaser and they're used to getting what they want and they're used to being pleased all the time, when you say, I'm not fucking doing that anymore, I'm not dancing or for you anymore, they find like some people will be offended by that and those are not your people. Like those are like if they disappear, if they like shun you in any way, they're doing a huge service to you because the people who are truly for you and like support you and like unconditionally love you will never feel threatened by a boundary. Like they'll never feel that. They'll be like, cool, like congratulations. That's what you need for your safety. Wonderful. Like they'll never be threatened. And that's a huge learning for me is like, yes, people get fucking upset when you are used to being a people pleaser. They get upset when you start setting some lines in the sand and you have to be okay with that. And if you're ruffling people's feathers, then that's good. That means you're actually moving away from that tendency to toxic people please.
Yeah, I think it's so rampant as a dynamic,
Mhm.
right? Like what's coming up for me is like as a people pleaser, we almost like think that it's our job to please others. And
Mhm.
so we'll encounter others who think that it's our job to please them. So there's like that dynamic of people in the world, like people who think it's their job to please others and who think that it's other people's jobs to please them. And then there's people who know that being pleased by someone else is a gift, but not a requirement,
Yeah,
you know?
I like those people.
So, but it takes like, because I feel like it's very unconscious at first, like people pleasing is just something that you do because you're raised in that dynamic. And so you go out into the world and if you think people pleasing is your job, then of course the people that come into your life are going to think that it's your job as well, you know? And I feel like it goes both ways in those types of relationships. But then at some point, you wake up to it and you're like, okay, now I want people that don't think it's my job to people please them.
Mhm.
And they see it as, like an expansive act of love, but not a requirement. There will be like that rupture, like the tectonic plates are shifting in your world. And it
Yeah.
is like it's super rough, but if you can like withstand it and stay true to like, no, like this is not my job. Because what's coming up too is like it's all about personal responsibility. right? So like if we're in this place of like your feelings are my responsibility and my feelings are your responsibility, then it's like very muddy waters. But as soon as you come into a place where you're like, no, like I'm in charge of how I feel, which means other people are in charge of how they feel, then you stop participating in that
Mm.
dynamic.
Oof.
Like
Yeah.
you're in charge of how you feel during the massage and how it affects you, and the masseuse is in charge of how they feel. So if you say something,
Mhm.
they're in charge of their feelings.
Yeah, I'm just having a wild realization that, like, with the thing with my neighbor, the incident with my neighbor, like, a year of not leaving my house. I mean, it sounds insane, but it's true. Like, I did not leave my house for like a year other than to like take out trash, and go to the laundromat. But I was scared to see them that much that I didn't leave. I was blaming them for it the whole time, not realizing it's actually my, like, I have to take accountability for, like, I'm the one creating this drama in my, like, not that, yeah, there is friction and there is conflict, but like my response to it is my own business. And I should have, like, I lost a year of my life and just doing normal shit. And it's like I can blame them all I want, but it's actually not their fault. It's my fault for thinking that, like, not just taking ownership and accountability for that. And that's just something that I'm realizing right now in this moment. I'm like, this whole time I've been like, I lost a year because these two people, but it's not even them. It's literally coming from me and these um these unhealed wounds and stuff.
Yeah,
But
no, I like totally, I have zero judgment for you and like that whole situation because like it completely makes sense. And like you didn't have the awareness or the tools to navigate it any differently. And
yeah.
also like it's also like a very powerful season of your life to reflect back upon, like
Hmm.
whatever that pain or suffering that you endured, like is a huge motivation to do things differently now.
Mm,
And maybe you needed a year of that to like, everyone's, I don't know, everyone's path is different, everyone's timing is different. Like,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I do see that so much more clearly now, like because obviously like we all interact with one another and like it's important to be kind and like we do affect one another. But I feel like when people make you responsible for their internal experience, or
Hmm.
if I'm trying to make other people responsible for my internal experience, like that is a red light bulb warning. Because at the end of the day, like I can't get inside your body and like make you feel something, and you
Hmm.
can't do the same to me, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Oof. Yeah, I'm like uncovering things that I've like completely forgot about, like, but they're there, then they haven't been looked at in a long time. Did we, I'm sorry, I feel like I derailed a lot of your questions. So,
No, this is actually really perfect. I think I have the questions to kind of guide the conversation into opening up, but you came into this like super open. So it really flowed really well. So I'm grateful for that. But I guess what I'm curious now, because it feels like wrapping up a little bit, but
mhm.
I'm curious like what are your practices look like every day to like maintain awareness of this for you? Because it sounds like something important for you.
Yeah, and I'll also maybe touch on like perfectionism, like, slightly. I know people pleasing is sometimes this like elephant that needs to be taken down one bite at a time, but um what are some things? So for me, like, I have stopped over identifying with both of them. I think once, and this is not just for people pleasing and perfectionism, it is for many things. It is like, I mean, I got certified as a meditation teacher and I put that on a pedestal and I was like, Can't wait to tell people I'm a meditation teacher. I stopped over identifying with that. I stopped over identifying with being depressed. I stopped over identifying with, like, oh, I'm a person of color in spaces. Like, I have been through it and I'm a minority and like I've struggled and I grew up like with a lot of disadvantages. I've started to like detach from that identity. And I've like just freed myself from something that I learned that I will never forget this year. Was I went on my first silent meditation retreat and spent 7 days in silence, with an incredible teacher, and he said, "No identity is the best identity." And I I truly feel that like in my bones. It's starting to like really crystallize. Like I used to say, oh yeah, I'm a people pleaser. And then I started saying, oh yeah, I'm a recovering people pleaser. That's still identifying with that. And it's not that there's anything inherently negative or wrong to identify with it, but it's the fact that I'm constantly shape shifting my relationship to that word or that phrase that is reminding me where I'm not free. I'm like, I'm just Aisha, and I have moments in my life where people pleasing comes up. Am I a people pleaser? No. I'm not a lot of things, and just like starting to like really remove the charge of these words, because that's why I wanted when you asked me to define it, I really wanted it to be neutral. It's like it's just a fucking word, it's empty. And I've given it this weight that this huge thing I have to overcome. So that's a big one. And with perfectionism, I just think about like so many of my friends who struggle with perfectionism, including myself. But like, I just think I'm right now, all I'm thinking about are my friends who are perfectionists, and all I want to say to them is that they are perfect. So stop striving to be perfect. Like, if I inherently believe, like in my soul, like I'm perfect, like I am done and I'm perfect, then you don't have to do perfect. You don't have to try, you know? And that's been helping me.
Yeah.
But I just wish people, like, I want to shake so many people in my life and you're perfect. You being one of them, Rebecca, like, you're perfect. Like, so what? About perfectionism is is this thing that we're trying to like we're making more work where it's unnecessary. I
Yeah.
think the work is showing up, like you said with your program and reset, you show up. And if we can start really believing that showing up is perfect, the work is done, we've shown up in our imperfections, and find the yumminess in that, then like you really start being present with people, you start really enjoying life because it's no longer in your head. It's no longer with your demons and all the things that are going around like, fuck, I should have said that. Oh, I fucked up over that. And I like didn't articulate this. And I said like too many times. I was like, fucking who cares? Like, I'm a human being. I get this one lifetime to be this version of myself. Like, let's fuck it up a little, like let's fuck it up a little and enjoy it and find the perfection in all of that. Um, but yeah, that's all I got.
I love it. I love so much what you said about the labels. That's like I posted a little video today on like a similar theme about
Hmm.
that, but it's just we're so much more than any word could ever describe us as. Like we're so expansive and all encompassing, and these little labels, it's like you're trying to put yourself in little boxes and line them up, and it's it's such a disservice to ourselves to try to put ourselves in these little boxes when we are so expansive. Yeah.
Infinite, like,
Yes. Like you said, the perfect thing, I always go back to nature because
mm,
like
Yeah, nature is
because,
perfect.
but it's so diverse and it's so chaotic and it's so like, aesthetic, but not aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so funny because as humans, we're sitting here like looking at each other and thinking that we should be like others. And it's like a bird doesn't look at a squirrel and feel bad about itself because it's a bird. Like, a dragonfly doesn't look at the butterfly and think, oh no, I'm not a butterfly, so I'm wrong. And we are just as diverse as nature. Like, the trees don't look at each other and think, like, oh no, I'm wrong. I don't belong here because I don't look like that tree. Like, no, you're right. Everyone is exactly perfect how they are. And the only trouble comes in thinking that we should be like something outside of us.
Yeah, 100%. I always think of flowers too. Like I've never seen an ugly flower in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some that, I'm drawn to, just like we are with humanity. Like I'm drawn to certain people, find certain people more attractive than others, but like it's never like I've never looked at another person and said like, "Oh, you're not good looking," or "You're not like," and I truly mean that to in my bones. Like I find everyone so beautiful, and then just my energy is just drawn to certain things, and I think it's just like it's all in our heads. It's literally all in our heads. And it's the same thing when people are like, it's funny when I moved down to Charleston, everyone asked me like, oh, like where are you from? And anytime I say New York, people have to tell me like their 2 cents of like what they think of New York. They're like, oh yeah, like it's really like a shitty city, like, right? Like, yeah, you're probably so happy to get out of there. And then there are people who are like, oh my God, best city ever. Like you must miss it so much. And then so many times people ask me like, oh, like what we like people who haven't been there ask me like what is it like what am I going to experience? I always tell them the same thing. You're going to experience the city like the way you experience everything else in your life because it's through the lens that you look at it. Like if I see that like life is perfect, then anywhere I go, I see that.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, like there are certain things that we are more connected to and we have better experiences with, but I've truly never been to a bad city before. But that's only because my mind believes that to be true. But there are so many people when you talk to them, they're like, all they want to do is talk about all the things they hate about something. And that's what they do when they look in the mirror. All they want to do is talk about the shit they hate about themselves. And it is a deep, deep practice of being like and radical for us, especially women, to look at ourselves and only see the good. Like, can we give ourselves permission to just only see the good in us? Like, how dare I only see the good in me? Like, I'm trained my whole life to like see the bad and see the imperfections and see the flaws. Like, I see women all the time. Like, even at dinner the other night, we were taking photos and everyone wants to see what the photos that look like. And they're like, oh, I don't look good in this. And I'm like, you don't? Like, are we looking at the same photo?
Yeah.
It's all in our heads. It's all in our heads. And the more we can see things as perfect, the more the world becomes perfect, the more your interactions with people become perfect. And you can't, yeah, there's no mistakes. There aren't any mistakes anywhere.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. What it's bringing up for me, I've been doing it comes up a lot in the creative freedom calls. People talk about parts and IFS and
Hmm.
um because like you said, truly our inner landscape completely informs the experience of the world that we have. And I've really been in this place of accepting all of my parts. Like I think for a long time, I was really obsessed with just being good, like a good girl, right? And
Hmm.
so everyone has light and dark inside of them. But I denied this dark side of me and really was like, no, like I'm never like this. I never do these things. Like I'm only good. And then I had there's a lot of things, but specifically this one relationship that really like brought out the worst in me. And
Mhm.
I behaved in so many ways that I was appalled at. Like so many ways that I was like, I would never do that. And I did it. And I was like horrible, you know? And I came away from that relationship like, wow, like that was a messed up situation, but like also what a gift because it allowed me to see all these parts of myself that I've been denying are even there in the first place.
Mhm.
Like sure, Rebecca is like very peaceful, but she's also like messy as fuck and she can be like super needy and she gets frustrated and she can't handle her emotions sometimes and she's bad at conflict and she can be like really confrontational and bossy. Like all these things, they're true, right? Like I have all these like negative qualities inside of me. But at the same time, like I'm also really fucking awesome and I can be like super wise and I'm fun and like there's room for all of that inside of me, you
Mhm.
know? And just because I have one bad thing doesn't mean I'm bad. It's just like we're all walking around with like a million different parts of us, and there's like light stuff and there's dark stuff. And all of those things are what we are. And I feel like the more we like make space for all of that inside of us, because there is like infinite space, our heart space is infinite, the more we can make space for that stuff out in the world, you know? And it's like I come across somebody and I'm like, well, I don't really like care for the way you're behaving. But like I can just walk over here and you can walk over there and we can like still exist in the space and we don't have to, we're not like threatening one another. And I think like m like one of my parts that I really don't like to make space for is when I get frustrated or angry. There's still a
Mhm.
part of me that is like trying to get that to go away as soon as possible. So I don't make a lot of space for it. And as I have been paying more attention to this, I realize I'm like no, you're too big. You're too much. You're going to take over. I don't have space for you. And how interesting to like talk to myself that way, right? Because I
Yeah.
go out into the world and I'm like, oh no, what if they think I'm too much? Like that's because I think some part of me is too much, you
Yeah.
know?
It might be, and that's cool too.
Well,
And
but I guess the thing is like, no, there's the thought of being too much is like so flawed because there's not like a limited amount of space. It's like the box, right? Like
yeah,
there's no box.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we created the box.
Yeah.
It's like what you're talking about is like true integration. And I think when we pick and choose parts of us that we like, it's very fucking dangerous. Like that is a dangerous road to walk down because the second you start picking and choosing things, we're literally breaking our soul into pieces. Like I always think of Voldemort and Harry Potter and like Horcruxes. Like we're breaking our soul into multiple pieces and we become very fragmented. But unconditional love for self is the antidote to that. Like, and unconditional means the dark, the light, everything, every shade in between.
Yeah.
And that's when we fully start to like f feel the wholeness of us, and that's the place where we want to be. Like once we start, picking and choosing and things, like it gets really really dicey.
Yeah. And then we can see the wholeness in others too. And
Mm.
it's like I feel like I can have so much more compassion for people when they're having like a little tantrum. I'm like, I get that. Like I have that part too.
Yeah.
Like you maybe take yourself out of the line of fire, but you don't, there's not as much like heavy judgment because it's like you're just like me. And I know we all like look so different and have such different experiences, but like I feel the more people I talk to, the more I see how much the internal experience is exactly the same.
Same. Yeah, the human race is one one
Yes.
race. Yeah, it really is. Like you cut us open, we all bleed the same.
Yeah.
We're made of the same exact parts. And that's like it's very easy, especially in our world right now, to like forget that because there's a lot of people who are just reminding us of the things that don't matter. and all the differences and stuff. So I love having these conversations because I'm just like I feel connected and I feel part of the human race again and feel like this is what matters is like community and connection and not seeing all the things and the long list of things that might be different between us.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Lovely. Was there any other questions on your heart? I feel like this is feels like a good stop.
No, it feels really good. I thank you so much for just being so open and sharing your stories. And yeah, I loved it.